Hello everyone. I'm so excited. I'm doing my first video in at least a year. It's been a minute since I've done a video, but I decided to start doing videos again because I just got a lot to say about a lot of things. And so I think is how to release it all. So if you don't know me personally because you are looking at this on a page I run, my name is Shalina. I am the founder of Fiery Maple Holistic Healing. I'm the natural health practitioner there. I am a huge media junkie. I'm an avid reader and have been my entire life. Books for my first friends. And so I've decided to launch a series of book reviews. Hopefully you will see this. My original plan was to have a Facebook Live because they just broadcast it and you don't have to worry about them not really showing it in the algorithm because they don't like the topic. You would not think a book review would be controversial, but here we are. This is the climate we live in, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be very controversial, but that's okay. I'm excited about it anyway. In fact, can you guess the name of the book that I'm going to review? Actually, as the series gets going, maybe that'll become a thing where I ask people if they can guess, and if they guess, they'll get a prize. The plan will be this. Every week, I will do kind of like a setup. I'll do a pre-review. I'll talk about the book that I plan on reading, and then you'll get the book review the following week. So, this book came to me recently. I'm really excited about it. I've been a big fan of the author for quite some time. He is a New York Times bestseller. Oops, sorry, got out the frame. And he is actually pretty well renowned. So that's kind of a hint. I removed the dust jacket out, obviously. All right, so here we go. Oh, I was sitting on the dust jacket. I've already messed it up. This is the book. Can you see it? The Real Anthony Fauci. Bill Gates, Big Pharma, and the Global War on Democracy and Public Health by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Excited about it. So, I will say this. I have a lot of opinions on a lot of things. It's kind of exhausting, actually. And I definitely have strong feelings on the pharmaceutical industry, informed by my observation and my studying and my reading about them since I was in high school. Definitely have strong opinions about the CDC and the FDA and the DEA and the CIA and all the A's that the government has. But Anthony Fauci, I never really heard of before the pandemic. Don't know much about his medical career or his career in government. So I kind of open mind. And you know how some people, like, they come into the public domain and you have a very immediate visceral reaction to them, like immediately like, gosh, I really like that person, or ooh, I don't like that person. Didn't have that with him. Actually, my feeling with regarding Anthony Fauci was he seemed reasonable, he seemed smart, he seemed poised. He definitely seemed like a good foil to then President Trump. I didn't really know anything about him and the AIDS crisis or anything about him, really. I, of course, immediately thought he was a handmaiden to the pharmaceutical industry because, and I don't even think, I thought that not because of who he was, but because of the position he held. Any person in that position was going to be a handmaiden to the pharmaceutical industry. I also knew as soon as we had a pandemic that they were going to push vaccines, and only vaccines as the answer. You didn't need to be a seer, someone who reads everything everywhere, to know that. I mean, that was how it's going to go. So anyway, kind of have an open mind about Anthony Fauci. Didn't have any really preconceived notions about him, but I'm still really excited to read this book. I think it's really important when talking about a book that we also kind of discuss the author. So, who is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Well, if you were to read his Wikipedia page, or if you are familiar with him from the past year, you would think that he was a crackpot, a kook, a tinfoil hat wearer, I think Wikipedia describes him as an anti-vaccine propagandist and a conspiracy theorist. So not high praise there, huh? So that's how the mainstream media has cast him. Of course, I think it was last year or the year before, he was kicked off Twitter. And he was also kicked off Instagram. So he has been deplatformed. So who is this man? So he is the firstborn son of Bobby Kennedy Jr. And just a quick, I mean, people should probably know this. You should know this. We all should know this. But just a quick rundown. He was the son of Bobby Kennedy, who, of course, was the younger brother to JFK, one of our most famous presidents. And Bobby Kennedy also served as Attorney General for his brother. He was known, he had to be up his bonnet, as they say, regarding organized crime. So he wanted to take out the mafia and really kind of change the way justice worked in this country. And then, let's see, he also was on his way to securing the Democratic nomination to run for president when he was assassinated. I don't know, 1968, 69, I don't know. I wasn't alive. I guess I should know this history, but that's something that's easily Googleable. So, RFK Jr.'s father was murdered, was assassinated right around that same time period that they were killing lots of people. MLK, Malcolm X, JFK, basically people who stood up for what was truth and what was right, and who went against the prevailing narrative. So that's who Bobby Kennedy is, clearly part of the famous Kennedy family, nephew to Ted Kennedy, Senator Ted Kennedy, who they called the Lion of the Senate. He was a senator for, I don't know, 30, 40 years or something. He's also a trained lawyer. I don't remember where he was educated. I'd say Harvard. Most of those Kennedys went to Harvard. So RFK Jr., not just your favorite conspiracy theorist, but someone who was highly educated, who is politically astute and connected, who is an insider, who is at the top of kind of American hierarchy. That Kennedy family is considered American royalty. And someone who has, I would say, more than a couple brain cells to rub together, and who isn't afraid to use them, and isn't afraid to stand up to the prevailing narrative. He is also actually, he's won a lot of awards. He's actually done a lot of amazing work, and it's really sad that they paint him as someone who is a kook and a crackpot when he's done so much for the American public. And he won an award. Let's see, he was named by Time Heroes for the Planet for his success helping Riverkeeper lead the fight to restore the Hudson River. He also was the founder of the Waterkeeper Alliance. Let's see. He received recognition for his role in the landmark victory against Monsanto, as well as in the DuPont case that inspired the movie Dark Waters. Dark Waters is so good. You should watch it. That's a movie starring and I believe produced by Mark Ruffalo. That was the one where DuPont was poisoning a whole town. They were just dumping toxins into the water, and of course for years and years claiming that what they were doing was safe, or that they weren't. I don't remember what lies they said, but these people started getting cancer, animals were sick, it was just like a whole mess. And of course they claimed that they didn't know and they weren't involved and that they had nothing to do with it. They were lying, as these companies most always are. So anyway, he's had a lot of success. He is considered a fighter for the environment and for nature, and he's published many books, including one that was a best seller called Crimes Against Nature. He's actually an extraordinary person. He really is. He's an extraordinary person. I'm a big fan of his. I'm excited to see what he has to write about this. Let's read what the topic of the book is. I'm going to read the inside jacket. So it says, Pharma-funded mainstream media has convinced millions of Americans that Dr. Anthony Fauci is a hero. He is anything but. As director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Dr. Anthony Fauci dispenses $6.1 billion in annual taxpayer-provided funding. It's a lot of money. It's your money. It's my money. It's definitely your money. And you know why it's our money? The $6.1 billion in annual taxpayer-provided funding? Because corporations and rich people don't pay taxes. It's the worker bees. It's us. We pay the taxes. So anyway, he oversees $6.1 billion of our money annually. And let's see. It says, this allows him to dictate the subject, content, and outcome of scientific health research across the globe. Fauci uses the financial clout at his disposal to wield extraordinary influence over hospitals, universities, journals, and thousands of influential doctors and scientists whose careers and institutions he has the power to ruin, advance, or reward. During more than a year of painstaking and meticulous research, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. unearthed a shocking story that obliterates media spin on Dr. Fauci, and that will alarm every American, Democrat, or Republican who cares about democracy, our Constitution, and the future of our children's health. The real Anthony Fauci reveals how America's doctor, I guess that's what they call Dr. Fauci, launched his career during the early AIDS crisis by partnering with pharmaceutical companies to sabotage safe and effective off-patent therapeutic treatments for AIDS. Fauci orchestrated fraudulent studies and then pressured U.S. Food and Drug Administration regulators into approving a deadly chemotherapy treatment he had good reason to know was worthless against AIDS. Fauci repeatedly violated federal laws to allow his pharma partners to use impoverished and dark-skinned children as lab rats in deadly experiments with toxic AIDS and cancer chemotherapies. I think this was a controversy with studies in Africa that I've heard things about, but I'm not well versed on. In early 2000, Fauci shook hands with Bill Gates in the Library of Gates' $147 million Seattle mansion, cementing a partnership that would aim to control an increasingly profitable $60 billion global vaccine enterprise with unlimited growth potential. Through funding leverage and carefully cultivated personal relationships with heads of state and leading media and social media institutions, the Pharma-Fauci-Gates alliance exercises dominion over global health policy. The real Anthony Fauci details how Fauci, Gates, and their cohorts use their control of media outlets, scientific journals, key government and quasi-governmental agencies, global intelligence agencies, and influential scientists and physicians to flood the public with fearful propaganda about COVID-19 virulence, good Lord, and pathogenesis, and to muzzle debate and ruthlessly censor dissent. I can't wait to get into this. Let's see who reviewed it and what they say. Luc Montagnier actually acted like I don't know who this man is, but it says he's a Nobel laureate. So anyway, what does he say? Oh, this is good. Dr. Joseph Goebbels wrote that a lie told once remains a lie, but a lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth. Tragically for humanity, there are many, many untruths emanating from Fauci and his minions. RFK Jr. exposes the decades of lies. Okay, let's see who else. Mark Crispin Miller, professor of media studies at NYU. The story of Dr. Fauci's rise and reign is really all about the absolute corruption of our major institutions, government, medicine, academia, and above all, the press, by Big Pharma and the Gates Foundation. Those of us who really do believe in science now have this book to help rid the world of that corruption. Tony Robbins. You know what? I like Tony Robbins. He's been in hot water lately, though. I gotta admit, it seems like he's been up to shenanigans. But anyway, what does he have to say? As a trial lawyer, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has taken on the world's most powerful corporations and held them accountable for harming people and the environment. Those companies denied any wrongdoing, but time and again, judges and juries were persuaded that Kennedy's position was the right one. Kennedy's information should always be considered, and agree or disagree, we all learn from listening. Dr. Vandana Shiva. That name sounds familiar. I don't know if she's been the one who worked like hell to get Bill Gates and his toxic seeds out of India. Never mind. Anyway, I think that might be her. What does she say? Bobby Kennedy's book speaks truth at a time when healthcare becomes health harm and untruth rules through anti-science and fake news. Who else? I saw one earlier. I was surprised to see. Let's see. Naomi Wolf, famous author of The Beauty Myth. What does she say? She says, RFK Jr. is a tireless champion of Americans' rights to be informed about their medical choices and has been way out front in warning us of the dangers of an out-of-control pharmaceutical industry. Randy Jackson. I think he was from American Idol. The revelations in this book are disturbing and shocking, exposing how our political system and government agencies can be compromised and how the mainstream media are being used to manipulate and control our everyday existence. There's a whole bunch of... You know what? I'm not going to read them all. But he's got a lot of good reviews by famous people. Tucker Carlson. You know I don't like that. Well, I'm going to be nice on the internet today. Not a fan of Tucker Carlson or his bow ties. Actually, I don't have anything against bow ties. I actually kind of like them. But he says, Bobby Kennedy is one of the bravest and most uncompromisingly honest people I've ever met. Someday he'll get credit for it. In the meantime, read this book. You know what? I wholeheartedly agree with that, Tucker Carlson. And this is the thing, people. Throughout the past 20, 30 years, there's been well-meaning scientists, researchers, and things like that who have found themselves in the crosshairs of big, powerful institutions. And because that, have either completely lost their career, their mental health, and even their life. They've been taken out. And some of them naively didn't even know that these things happen. It's not the case with RFK Jr. He comes from a family who's literally bled and been assassinated because they stood up and they spoke truth to power. So he knows intimately what can happen to you if you persist on pushing back against powers that be. And despite this risk, he's taking it anyways. He doesn't benefit from this. He doesn't need the clout. He doesn't need the accolades. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the attention. He's only doing it because it's probably just bubbles out of him. He can't help it. It's who he is. It's in his blood. It's who he is. He has to. He's compelled to it. He's risking a lot to put this type of information out. And because of that, I think it's important that we read it. So I'm going to read it. I'm excited about it. The other thing I noticed, which made me really happy, I really like this. Look at this. Things like this ends of after every chapter, pages and pages. Ooh, I love it. Makes me so happy. Pages of endnotes and references. He's showing his work. He's showing the studies. He's showing. She's showing it all. He's not just saying anything and saying, believe me. He's showing his work. He's doing his own research, which for some reason has become like a bad thing now. It's bad to read and research and use your brain. How could that be? And it's a good thing to blindly trust entities that we all know. And 5 years ago, no one would stutter to say, like, the pharmaceutical industry is a corrupt, profit-mongering industry. It wouldn't be controversial to say the government is corrupt and most often does not have your best interest at heart. It wouldn't be controversial to say the media is a propaganda tool and they're corrupt and you can't trust them. Anyway, I'm excited. I'll be back next week to let you know. Hope you have a good one. Oh, if you do see this, please like it, even if you don't like it, because the algorithm is not going to favor this topic. And Facebook is a public square, and the fact that they are now censoring is a huge problem. It's a huge problem. In fact, it really is an infringement on our freedom of speech and our First Amendment rights. I'm sure that case will come at some point in our lifetime. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.